Space was littered with the burning remains of the Kyrian fleet. Massive warships that once protected an empire of 1,000 worlds now drifted as twisted metal and glowing debris. The battle had lasted only 6 hours. Supreme Commander Vexlar stood on the command deck of his flagship, watching the destruction with cold satisfaction. His forearms crossed behind his back as he studied the tactical display. The Kyrian Empire had been the 200th civilization to fall before the Dominion Collective. Status report. Vexlar's voice echoed through the bridge. His species communicated through harmonics that made the air vibrate. Kyrian resistance has ceased, reported his second-in-command. Their homeworld shields have failed. The entropy core is ready for deployment. Vexlar nodded. The entropy core was the Dominion's ultimate weapon. It didn't simply destroy planets. It unraveled the very fabric of space around them, causing entire star systems to collapse into nothingness. No debris, no survivors, just empty void where life once thrived. Begin the sequence, Vexlar ordered. The massive weapon powered up at the center of the Dominion fleet. Purple energy crackled along its surface as it drew power from nearby stars. The Kyrian homeworld hung in space, blue and green like so many worlds before it. Billions of lives about to end. Across the galaxy, on a small blue planet that the Dominion had not yet discovered, Commander Jake Morrison sat in his office at the New Gibraltar outpost. Earth's furthest colony was a listening post, designed to monitor deep space communications. Jake rubbed his tired eyes and reached for his coffee. Another quiet night shift. Then his communications array lit up like a Christmas tree. What the hell? Jake set down his mug and leaned forward. Distress signals flooded every frequency. Not human signals. Something else. The computer began translating the alien messages. Empire falling. Dominion destroys all. Entropy weapon. No escape? Jake's blood ran cold. He opened a secure channel to Earth Defense Command. This is Commander Morrison at New Gibraltar. Priority 1 transmission. We're receiving massive distress signals from unknown alien sources. Possible extinction-level threat detected. On Earth, Director Lisa Harper was pulled from her sleep by the emergency call. Within an hour, she stood before the Defense Council, in their underground bunker. The room was filled with military leaders and government officials, all looking grim as they reviewed the data. According to these signals, something called the Dominion Collective has destroyed at least 30 civilizations. In the past year alone, Lisa explained. The Kyrian Empire appears to be their latest victim. General Paul Rodriguez studied the star maps. How far away is this conflict? Approximately 800 light-years, Lisa answered. But here's the concerning part. The Dominion appears to be moving in an expanding pattern. Based on their trajectory, they'll reach human space within 2 years. The room fell silent. Earth had only been spacefaring for a century. Their entire fleet consisted of 27 ships, mostly converted, cargo vessels with basic weapons. They had never faced an alien threat. What do we know about their technology? Asked Dr. Stephen Garcia, Earth's lead xenotechnology expert. Lisa pulled up the translated data. The distress calls mention something called an entropy core. It appears to be a weapon that can destroy entire star systems. We have no defense against something like that. Back at New Gibraltar, Jake Morrison couldn't shake the feeling of dread. He kept monitoring the signals, watching as they grew weaker. The Kyrian Empire was dying in real time, and he was powerless to help. His communication panel beeped. A new signal, different from the others. This one was aimed directly at Earth. Humans. Of Earth, the message began. I am Kelvar, last scientist of the Kyrian Empire. Our time is ending, but I send you this warning. The Dominion conquers all. They leave nothing behind. You must prepare. You must find a way to stop them. In our ancient archives, we found references to something called the Aegis Protocol. We could not unlock its secrets in time. Perhaps you can. Hidden in your own past is the key to salvation. Look to your oldest ruins. The builders left you a gift. Use it, or share our fate. The message ended with coordinates. Jake immediately forwarded everything to Earth Defense Command. On the Dominion flagship, Vexlar watched as the entropy core fired. A beam of pure anti-existence struck the Kyrian homeworld. The planet didn't explode. It simply ceased to be. Space itself folded inward, taking the entire star system with it. Where once billions lived, now only darkness remained. Another successful purification, Vexillar announced to his crew. The galaxy grows closer to perfect order with each fallen empire. His tactical officer approached. Supreme Commander, we've detected faint radio emissions from a previously unknown sector. The signals suggest another spacefaring civilization. Vexillar studied the data. Primitive technology. They still use electromagnetic communications, barely worth our attention. Shall we ignore them? No, Vexillar decided. The Dominion's mission is absolute. All civilizations must either submit or be purified. Set course for this Earth. They will be conquest number 201. On Earth, emergency meetings continued through the night. Dr. Garcia had teams searching through every archaeological site, looking for anything that matched the Kyrian scientists' description. Ancient ruins in Antarctica, underground chambers in Egypt, mysterious structures on the ocean floor. Somewhere in humanity's past lay their only hope. Jake Morrison requested immediate transfer back to Earth. As his ship departed New Gibraltar, he looked back at the stars. Somewhere out there, an unstoppable force was heading their way. Earth had less than 2 years to find a miracle. The Dominion fleet began its slow journey toward human space. Thousands of warships moving in perfect formation, led by the massive dreadnought carrying the entropy core. They had never lost a battle, never failed to conquer, never shown mercy, but they had also never encountered humanity. As news of the approaching threat spread across Earth, something unexpected happened. Instead of panic, there was unity. Nations that had argued for decades suddenly worked together. Scientists shared research freely. Resources flowed to defense projects without question. Humanity had always been at its best when facing impossible odds. In a secret facility beneath the Antarctic ice, Dr. Garcia's team made a discovery. Ancient symbols that matched no known human language, technology that defied understanding, and at the center of it all, blueprints for something called the Aegis. The race against extinction had begun. The Antarctic Research Station stood like a lonely sentinel against the endless white. Dr. Stephen Garcia stepped out of the transport helicopter, pulling his coat tight against the bitter wind. 3 other scientists waited for him on the landing pad. Dr. Garcia, welcome to Ice Station 0, said Dr. Sarah Park, the lead archaeologist. What we found down there, it changes everything. They descended through a shaft, cut deep into the ancient ice. The elevator ride took 10 minutes, going down nearly a mile. When the doors opened, Stephen gasped. Before him stretched a massive underground chamber. The walls were smooth metal, unmarked by time. Strange symbols glowed softly in the darkness. At the center of the room sat something that defied explanation. It looked like a ship's blueprint, but made of light itself, floating in midair. How old is this place? Stephen asked. Our tests say at least 50,000 years, Sarah replied. But here's the strange part, the metal doesn't match anything on Earth. And these symbols, they're not from any known human civilization. Stephen approached the floating blueprint. As he got closer, the symbols seemed to rearrange themselves. Suddenly, he could read them. The words appeared in his mind rather than through his eyes. Aegis, he whispered. The shield of Earth. Back on the Dominion flagship, Supreme Commander Vexillar studied reports from his scouts. Earth was even more primitive than expected. Their ships used chemical propulsion. Their weapons were projectile-based. They hadn't even colonized their own star system properly. This will be our easiest conquest yet, Vexillar told his officers. Their radio emissions reveal everything. They fight among themselves. They damage their own planet. They are not worthy of the stars. His second-in-command shifted uncomfortably. Supreme Commander, should we not offer them the chance to surrender? It is protocol. Protocol, yes, Vexillar agreed. But why waste time? Begin long-range scans. I want to know everything about their defenses before we arrive. On Earth's moon, hidden beneath Tycho crater, humanity's largest shipyard buzzed with activity. Chief Engineer Amy Roberts ran from station to station, checking progress on the most ambitious project in human history. The Aegis was taking shape. Based on the Antarctic blueprints, the ship was unlike anything humans had built before. Its hull seemed to shift between solid matter and something else. The propulsion system made no sense according to known physics. The power core was a mystery even to the engineers building it. "How's the dimensional matrix holding?" Amy asked her assistant. "Stable. But I still don't understand how it works," replied Kevin Wu. "The math says this ship should exist in multiple dimensions at once. That's impossible." Amy smiled grimly. "A lot of impossible things are happening lately. Keep working. We have 18 months before the Dominion arrives." In Earth's capital, Director Lisa Harper addressed the United Earth Council. Representatives from every nation watched as she presented the latest intelligence. "The Dominion fleet numbers approximately 3,000 ships," she reported. "Each one is larger than our biggest vessel. Their main weapon, the entropy core, has destroyed over 200 civilizations. We cannot match them in conventional warfare." President Maria Santos of the Americas Union stood up. "Then the Aegis is our only hope?" "It appears so," Lisa confirmed. "Dr. Garcia's team has made remarkable progress translating the ancient data. The ship isn't just a weapon, it's something far more complex." Captain Peter Chang had volunteered to be the Aegis test pilot. He stood in the observation deck of the lunar shipyard, watching the strange vessel take shape. As an experienced combat pilot, he'd flown everything Earth had to offer, but the Aegis scared him. "Having second thoughts?" asked Lieutenant Karen Williams, his chosen tactical officer. Peter shook his head. "No, just wondering what we're really building here. The blueprints talk about consciousness integration, whatever that means." Karen had been studying the translated texts. "From what I understand, the pilot doesn't just fly the ship. They become part of it. The ancient builders designed it to merge human consciousness with the vessel's systems." "Sounds risky." "Everything about this is risky," Karen replied. "But what choice do we have?" The Dominion fleet had changed course 3 times, destroying smaller civilizations along their path to Earth. Each conquest was broadcast across the Yao galaxy as a warning. Vexillar wanted everyone to know resistance was futile. Jake Morrison, now assigned to Earth Defense Command, analyzed each transmission. The Dominion followed a pattern. They offered surrender once. If refused, they deployed the entropy core. No negotiations, no mercy. "They're machines," Jake told Lisa during a strategy meeting. "Not literally, but in how they think. They follow the same procedure every time." "Maybe we can use that against them," Lisa suggested. "Predictability is a weakness." Dr. Garcia made another breakthrough in the Antarctic chamber. Hidden compartments opened, revealing more information about the Aegis. The ship wasn't built by ancient humans. It was a gift from something called the Builders, a race that had transcended physical existence millions of years ago. They knew this day would come, Stephen explained to the research team. The Builders saw the pattern. Every few million years, something like the Dominion rises. They left the Aegis as protection for younger races. "But why Earth?" asked Sarah Park. "Why humanity?" Stephen showed them a new translation. "Because humans have something unique, the capacity for both creation and destruction, the will to fight and the wisdom to show mercy. The Builders saw our potential long before we existed." The Aegis construction accelerated. Workers pulled triple shifts. Resources flowed from every corner of Earth. The ship grew larger each day, its systems more complex. Amy Roberts barely slept, driven by the countdown clock on every wall. "Main hull complete," reported an engineer. "Starting installation of the reality anchor." Amy nodded. The reality anchor was the most mysterious component. According to the blueprints, it allowed the ship to exist partially outside normal space-time. In theory, it would make the Aegis nearly impossible to target or damage. News of the Dominion threat had finally reached the public. Instead of panic, Earth saw an unprecedented wave of unity. Old conflicts were set aside. Resources were shared freely. Humanity faced extinction together. Children drew pictures of the Aegis in school. Artists created murals of hope. Musicians wrote songs about the last stand of Earth. The ship became a symbol before it even flew. Captain Peter Chang began his training in the simulator. The Aegis interface was unlike anything he'd experienced. Instead of controls, the ship responded to thoughts. Instead of displays, information flowed directly into his mind. "How does it feel?" asked Dr. Garcia, monitoring the session. "Like the ship is alive," Peter answered. "Like it's waiting for something. Or someone." The Dominion fleet drew closer. Long-range sensors detected their approach. Vexillar sent his standard message to Earth. "Inhabitants of Earth, you have been chosen for purification. The Dominion offers you one opportunity to surrender. Join our collective or face extinction. You have 7 rotations to respond." The message played on every screen, every radio, every communication device on Earth. 7 days to decide the fate of humanity. In the lunar shipyard, Amy Roberts looked at the nearly complete Aegis. 6 more weeks, she said. "We need 6 more weeks." But time was running out. The Dominion had given Earth 7 days. The Aegis wasn't ready. Humanity's conventional fleet was no match for the alien armada. Yet in the Antarctic chamber, Dr. Garcia found one more secret, a message from the builders themselves, written in perfect English waiting to be discovered at exactly this moment. "Trust the ship. Trust yourselves. The Aegis will know what to do when the time comes. But remember, its greatest power is not in destruction, but in creation. Not in ending, but in beginning. The choice will be yours." Earth prepared for war, not knowing that the true battle would be for something far greater than survival. The 7 days passed like heartbeats. Earth's answer to the Dominion was silence. No surrender, no plea for mercy. Just the quiet preparation for war. Supreme Commander Vexillar stood on his command deck, all 4 arms clasped behind him. "The humans choose extinction," he announced. "So be it. Begin the advance." The Dominion fleet moved as one. 3,000 ships sliding through space like predators approaching prey. At their center, the massive dreadnought carrying the entropy core powered its weapons. Earth's defensive fleet gathered at the edge of the solar system. 27 ships against thousands. Admiral Janet Cole commanded from the bridge of humanity's largest vessel, the United Earth ship Resolute. "All ships, this is Admiral Cole," she broadcast. "We know the odds. We know what's coming. But we are the shield of Earth. We hold the line, no matter the cost." The human ships spread into a defensive formation. They were outgunned, outnumbered, and outmatched. But they were not alone. On the lunar shipyard, Amy Roberts worked frantically. The Aegis was 90% complete. Systems were coming online, but they needed more time. "Main power core is active," reported Kevin Wu. "But the consciousness interface isn't responding." Amy slammed her fist on the console. "Come on, wake up. We built you. We need you." The ship remained silent. Beautiful, mysterious, and silent. Captain Peter Chang suited up in the pilot preparation chamber. The Aegis flight suit was unlike anything he'd worn. It seemed alive, adjusting to his body, connecting to his nervous system. "Bio-readings are off the charts," said Dr. Garcia, monitoring the process. "Your brain activity is spiking." Peter felt it too. Whispers at the edge of his thoughts. Not words, but impressions. The ship was there, waiting, watching. "It knows I'm coming," Peter said softly. Karen Williams checked her tactical station. "Peter, if this doesn't work..." "It'll work," Peter cut her off. "It has to." The first engagement began near Neptune. Earth's ships fired everything they had. Missiles, railguns, energy weapons. The Dominion shields absorbed every attack without strain. The return fire was devastating. 3 Earth ships vanished in seconds, torn apart by weapons that seemed to bend space itself. Admiral Cole ordered a fighting retreat. Fall back to Mars, she commanded. Make them pay for every inch. On Earth, cities fell silent. Billions watched the battle through news feeds. Parents held children. Strangers comforted each other. Humanity faced its end together. Director Lisa Harper stood in the command center, watching the tactical display. Red dots swarmed toward Earth. Blue dots winked out one by one. How long until the Aegis launches? She asked Jake Morrison. Amy says 2 more hours, Jake replied. Maybe less. Lisa shook her head. We don't have 2 hours. The Dominion fleet crushed Earth's defenses systematically. Vexlar watched with professional detachment. These humans fought well for primitives, but the outcome was never in doubt. Supreme Commander, his tactical officer reported. We're detecting an energy signature from Earth's moon. Something is powering up. Vexlar turned to the display. What kind of energy? Unknown, sir. It doesn't match any technology in our database. At the lunar shipyard, the Aegis began to glow. Amy Roberts stepped back from her console as systems activated on their own. It's waking up, she whispered. The ship's hull rippled like water. Lights danced across its surface in patterns that hurt to look at. The very air around it seemed to bend. Peter Chang felt the call, not in words, but in certainty. The ship was ready. It needed him. Open the cockpit, he ordered. But the systems aren't fully tested, protested Amy. Open it, Peter repeated. Now. The Aegis cockpit was unlike anything in human design. No seats, no controls, no displays, just a sphere of light that seemed to extend forever. Peter stepped inside without hesitation. The moment he entered, everything changed. Peter felt his consciousness expand. He wasn't in the ship. He was the ship. Every system, every component, every atom was part of him. Karen Williams took her position at the tactical interface. She gasped as information flooded her mind. I can see everything, every ship, every weapon, every possible outcome. The Aegis lifted from its cradle. No engines fired, no thrusters engaged. It simply chose to move, sliding through space like thought made manifest. Vexlar watched his tactical display with growing concern. What is that ship? Why can't we get a proper scan? His sensors showed impossible readings. The human vessel seemed to exist in multiple places at once. Its mass, readings fluctuated between 0 and infinite. Its energy output defied measurement. Admiral Cole's remaining ships regrouped near Mars. Only 12 were left. The Dominion fleet surrounded them, ready for the final blow. Then the Aegis arrived. It didn't travel through space. It simply appeared, reality bending around it. Peter's voice, changed but recognizable, broadcast on all frequencies. Dominion fleet, this is Earth vessel Aegis. You have one chance, leave our system, never return, this is your only warning. Vexlar laughed, a sound like grinding stone. One ship? You send one ship against the might of the Dominion? Fire all weapons. Destroy this arrogant pest. 3,000 ships opened fire simultaneously. Beams, missiles, and projectiles converged on the Aegis from every direction. The space around Earth lit up like a new sun. When the light faded, the Aegis remained. Untouched, unmoved, impossible. How? Vexlar demanded. Nothing can survive that level of firepower. His tactical officer was pale with fear. Supreme Commander, the ship. It's not fully in our dimension. Our weapons are passing through empty space. Peter felt the Dominion's confusion. Through the Aegis, he sensed their fear beginning to grow. For the first time in their history, they faced something they couldn't destroy. Our turn, Karen announced from her tactical station. The Aegis moved, not like a ship, but like a force of nature. It passed through the Dominion formation, and where it went, shields failed, weapons misfired, engines died. Vexlar watched a dozen of his ships go dark, not destroyed but disabled, powerless. What kind of weapon is this? He roared. But the Aegis wasn't finished. Peter felt the ship's true purpose awakening. It reached out across space, touching the wreckage of Earth's destroyed vessels. And something impossible happened. The debris began to reassemble. Atoms found their places. Systems rebuilt themselves. 3 destroyed Earth ships reformed from nothing, their crews returning to life inside them. Entropy reversal, whispered Vexlar's science officer. They're undoing destruction itself. The Aegis pulsed with energy. Waves of restoration spread from its hull. Damaged Dominion ships found their systems repaired. Wounded crew members were healed. The very fabric of space, torn by weapons fire, smoothed itself. Vexlar felt something he had never experienced in his long life. Doubt. Supreme Commander, his second-in-command said quietly. No civilization has ever possessed this power. What are we facing? The Aegis turned toward the Dominion dreadnought. Peter's voice echoed across space. You came to destroy. We choose to restore. You bring death. We bring life. This is the difference between us. And this is why you will fail. For the first time in Dominion history, their fleet hesitated. 3,000 ships faced one, and they were afraid. The battle for Earth had become something else entirely. Not a conflict of weapons, but a clash of philosophies. Destruction against creation, death against life. And in that moment, the galaxy held its breath. The Aegis moved through space like a ghost, leaving restoration in its wake. Peter Chang felt every particle of the ship, every dimension it touched. He was more than human now, but still completely himself. Karen, target the entropy core. Peter's voice resonated through the ship's systems. Karen Williams worked at her tactical station, her mind linked to the ship's sensors. Peter, if we reverse the entropy core while it's active, the energy release could be catastrophic. Not destruction, Peter replied. Transformation. Supreme Commander Vexlar watched his perfect fleet fall into chaos. Ships that had never known defeat drifted powerless. Weapons that had ended civilizations refused to fire. His forearms trembled with rage and something else, fear. All ships concentrate fire on the human vessel, Vexlar commanded. Use everything. Hold nothing back. But the Dominion fleet was breaking apart, not from damage, but from doubt. For the first time in their million-year history, they faced an enemy they couldn't understand. The Aegis reached the outer edge of the solar system. There, in the darkness between stars, Peter sensed something. The echo of destroyed worlds. The grief of ended civilizations. 200 murdered empires crying out in the void. Karen, I can feel them, Peter said, his voice filled with sorrow. All the races the Dominion destroyed. They're still here somehow, traces of them. Karen checked her readings. That's impossible. The entropy core doesn't leave traces. It unmakes reality itself. No, Peter realized. It tries to unmake reality. But reality remembers, the universe remembers, and the Aegis can read those memories. The ship pulsed with new purpose. Peter guided it toward the coordinates where the Kyrian Empire had died. Space there was wounded, scarred by the entropy core's touch. Vexlar's dreadnought pursued, charging, its ultimate weapon. If we cannot destroy them in battle, we'll take their entire system with us. Prepare the entropy core for maximum yield. His science officer hesitated. Supreme Commander, at maximum yield, the cascade could spread beyond this system. It could. I don't care, Vexlar roared. The Dominion will not be defied. Back at Earth's command center, Director Lisa Harper watched the tactical display. What's the Aegis doing? Why is it leaving the solar system? Dr. Stephen Garcia studied the energy readings. It's following something. Some kind of quantum trail, like footprints in space-time. Jake Morrison pointed at the screen. The Dominion dreadnought is following, and their main weapon is powering up. The Aegis reached the void where Kyria once stood. Empty space, dead and cold. Peter felt the ship's systems expand, reaching into dimensions humans couldn't name. The restoration field grew stronger, deeper. Beginning reality reconstruction, Karen announced. Peter, the power requirements are enormous. We're drawing energy from everywhere. The Aegis blazed brighter than a star. Energy poured through it from places beyond normal space. The ship became a conduit for forces that preceded the universe itself, and in the void, something impossible began to happen. Stars flickered into existence, not new stars, but old ones, remembered ones. The Kyrian sun reformed from quantum memory, its light touching space that had been dark for weeks. Vexillar's fleet watched in horror as planets began to coalescence from nothing. Kyria Prime, the murdered homeworld, rebuilt itself atom by atom. Continents rose from quantum foam. Oceans filled ancient basins. Cities reassembled from the universe's memory. "This cannot be," Vexillar whispered. "Nothing can undo the entropy core. Nothing." But the Aegis continued its work. Life itself returned to Kyria. Forests grew in moments. Animals appeared in flashes of light. And then, in the cities, Kyrian citizens walked again. Billions of souls pulled back from oblivion, on. The restored planet, a Kyrian child looked up at the strange light in the sky. She didn't remember dying, none of them did. To them it was just another day, the invasion a nightmare that never quite happened. The Dominion fleet began to fracture. Some ships fled in terror. Others powered down their weapons. Rebellion spread through the ranks as species long enslaved. By the Dominion saw hope for the first time. "Fire the entropy core," Vexillar screamed. "Destroy them all." His weapons officer refused. "No, Supreme Commander, this is madness." The entropy core fired anyway, Vexillar taking direct control. The beam of annihilation streaked toward the Aegis, powerful enough to unmake a star system. Peter felt it coming. Through the ship, he understood the weapon's nature. It was fear made manifest, the terror of death given form, the Dominion's entire philosophy condensed into one terrible force. The Aegis caught the beam, not with shields or armor, but with understanding. The ship absorbed the entropy core's power and transformed it. Destruction became creation. Death became life. The reversal wave exploded outward from the Aegis. Across the galaxy, murdered worlds stirred. The Vakari Empire, dead for a century, rebuilt itself in minutes. The Threnodi Collective, the Zalans, the Proud Kun, civilization after civilization returned from nothingness. Vexillar watched his life's work unravel. Every conquest reversed, every victory undone. The perfect order of the Dominion shattered by a single human ship. "What are you?" he asked, his voice broken. Peter's consciousness touched the Supreme Commander's mind. For a moment, Vexillar saw through human eyes. He felt what Peter felt. The weight of choice. The burden of power. The decision to heal rather than harm. "We are what you could have been," Peter answered. "What you still could be." Across the galaxy, restored civilizations rose from death. They remembered their destruction, remembered the Dominion's cruelty, but instead of seeking revenge, they felt something else: gratitude, wonder, hope. Ships from 100 restored empires converged on the battle site, not to fight, but to witness. The Aegis stood at the center of it all, still blazing with impossible light. On Earth, celebrations erupted as news spread. Humanity had not only survived but had done something unprecedented. They had reversed genocide on a galactic scale. Dr. Garcia watched the readings with tears in his eyes. "They're all coming back. Every civilization the Dominion destroyed. It's the greatest resurrection in the history of the universe." But the Aegis wasn't finished. Peter guided the ship toward the Dominion fleet. 3,000 vessels waited. Weapons powered down, crews in shock. "Your empire was built on fear," Peter broadcast. "On the idea that destruction was the path to order. But look around you. Life is chaos, growth is messy, and it's beautiful." The restored civilizations surrounded the Dominion fleet. Not with weapons, but with open communications, offers of peace, invitations to join a greater community. For the first time in 1,000,000 years, the Dominion had a choice that wasn't conquest or death. Vexillar stood alone on his bridge. His officers had abandoned their posts, overcome by the magnitude of what they'd witnessed. The Supreme Commander of the galaxy's greatest military force faced a truth he couldn't deny. They had been wrong about everything. What happens to us now? Vexillar asked the void. The Aegis approached the dreadnought. Peter's voice was gentle. That's up to you. The galaxy is offering you something you never gave others. A second chance. And in that moment, the war for the galaxy ended. Not with destruction, but with the possibility of redemption. The Dominion home system had never known visitors. For 1,000,000 years, the four worlds of the Dominion core had stood isolated, protected by fleets that conquered galaxies. Now, a single ship approached their sacred space. The Aegis moved slowly, respectfully. Peter Chung felt the weight of history in this moment. Behind him, representatives from every restored civilization followed in their own vessels. Not an invasion force, but an embassy of hope. Vexillar stood on the bridge of his powerless dreadnought, watching the human ship approach his homeworld. His second-in-command spoke softly. Supreme Commander, our people are asking questions. They want to know why we fought, why we destroyed. They're demanding answers. For the first time in his long life, Vexillar had no answers to give. The Aegis reached Dominion Prime, the capital world of the Empire. Peter extended the ship's sensors, trying to understand these conquerors who had brought so much death. What he found surprised him. Karen, are you seeing this? Peter asked. Karen Williams studied the data. Their sun, it's dying, has been dying for thousands of years. The entire system is slowly freezing. Through the Aegis, Peter touched the planet's surface. He felt the fear that drove the Dominion, the terror of extinction, the desperate need to escape a dying world that had twisted into a philosophy of conquest. They weren't evil, Peter realized. They were afraid, so afraid they forgot there were other ways to survive. The restored civilizations gathered around Dominion Prime. Ships from Kyria, Vakari, Threnody, and 200 other empires formed a vast circle. On Earth, billions watched through broadcast feeds as humanity's representative prepared to address their former destroyers. Peter guided the Aegis into the planet's atmosphere. The ship's restoration field touched the dying world, and something wonderful happened. The poisoned air began to clean itself. The frozen seas started to warm. The failing magnetosphere strengthened. On the surface, Dominion citizens looked up in wonder as their gray skies turned blue for the first time in centuries. Children who had never seen sunlight felt warmth on their faces. Vexillar's voice cracked as he spoke. Why? Why heal us after everything we've done? Peter's answer echoed across every communication channel. Because this is what humans do. We see suffering and we try to help. We find the broken and we try to heal. Not because you deserve it, but because we can. The Aegis reached deeper, touching the Dominion's dying star. The restoration field wrapped around the ancient sun, reversing millions of years of stellar decay. The star brightened, young again, its light bringing life back to 4 frozen worlds. In the capital city, the Dominion High Council met in emergency session. Ancient beings who had ordered the destruction of civilizations now faced a choice they never expected. Accept help from those they tried to destroy, or cling to pride and watch their people suffer. The vote was unanimous. Pride meant nothing in the face of such mercy. We surrender, announced the council speaker. Not as conquered, but as beings who finally understand. The Dominion's war against the galaxy is over. Across the cosmos, 1,000 different species celebrated, not with vengeance, but with relief. The great terror that had haunted the galaxy was ending not in destruction, but in transformation. On Earth, Director Lisa Harper addressed the United Earth Council. The Aegis has shown us something profound. True strength isn't in the ability to destroy, but in the power to restore, the courage to forgive, the wisdom to heal. The restored civilizations began to organize. What started as a gathering of victims became the foundation of something greater. The Galactic Restoration Alliance, dedicated to healing the wounds left by eons of war. Peter Chang felt the Aegis changing around him. The ship's consciousness touched his mind with something like affection. It's time, isn't it? Peter asked the ship. The answer came not in words, but in understanding. The Aegis had completed its primary mission. The builder's gift had been delivered. Now it needed a new pilot, a new purpose. Peter guided the Aegis back toward Earth. In the lunar shipyard, Amy Roberts waited with tears in her eyes. She had built something that changed the galaxy, but she knew the cost. "How do I leave?" Peter asked. "How do I separate from something that's become part of me?" Karen placed her hand on his shoulder. "You don't have to. The ship is offering you a choice. Stay merged and explore the cosmos as something more than human, or return to us and let another take your place." Peter felt the infinite possibilities the Aegis offered, dimensions beyond counting, mysteries that would take lifetimes to explore, the promise of becoming something greater than any human had ever been. But he also felt the pull of home, Earth, family, the simple joy of being human. "I choose Earth," Peter said finally. "I choose to be human." The Aegis accepted his choice, with something like sadness and pride. Slowly, gently, the ship released him. Peter felt his consciousness contract, returning to the boundaries of his own mind. It was like waking from the most vivid dream. As Peter stepped out of the Aegis, Lieutenant Karen Williams stepped forward. "My turn," she said simply. The ship accepted its new pilot immediately. Karen merged with the Aegis as naturally as breathing. Her consciousness expanded, touching stars, feeling the pulse of galaxies. "This is incredible." Karen's voice resonated through the ship. "I can see everything, feel everything. The whole galaxy is alive, and it's beautiful." The Dominion integration proceeded smoothly. Former conquerors became builders, using their vast resources to help repair the damage they had caused. Vexillar himself requested assignment to the restoration fleet, working to heal worlds he had once destroyed. A year later, Earth hosted the first Galactic Peace Summit. Representatives from every known civilization gathered on humanity's homeworld. The Aegis hovered overhead, a silent guardian now piloted by Karen Williams. Jake Morrison stood with Dr. Garcia and Amy Roberts, watching the alien delegates arrive. "Did you ever think we'd see this?" Jake asked. Stephen Garcia smiled. "The builders knew. They saw something in humanity that we're only beginning to understand ourselves." Amy looked up at the Aegis. "They gave us the tool, but we made the choice. To heal instead of harm. To restore instead of destroy. The summit established new laws for the galaxy. No more conquest, no more genocide. Disputes would be settled through dialogue, not destruction. The Aegis would patrol the cosmos, not as a weapon, but as a guardian of peace." Peter Chang accepted a new role as Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council. His experience with the Aegis made him uniquely qualified to bridge the gap between human and alien perspectives. In the depths of space, the builders watched. Their gift had been used as intended. Humanity had passed the test, choosing creation over destruction, mercy over vengeance, and so began a new chapter in galactic history. Not an age of empires, but an era of cooperation. Not a time of fear, but an epoch of hope. The Aegis continued its patrol, now one of many ships dedicated to preserving peace. Whenever conflict arose, whenever old hatreds threatened to resurface, the restored civilizations remembered the lesson of Earth. Sometimes the greatest victory comes not from defeating your enemy, but from transforming them into friends. The galaxy had been saved not by force of arms, but by the boundless capacity of the human heart to forgive, to heal, and to hope. And among the stars, the legacy of the builders lived on, carried forward by a species young enough to believe in second chances and wise enough to offer them.